Hi, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of our conversation with Paulo de Tarso on the Ops Club podcast. If you haven't heard part 1 yet, you may prefer to start there first. Otherwise, keep listening and we'll get straight back into it. Hope you enjoy.
It's so hard to be decisive about those things. Like today, I ate my lunch at my computer,
Yeah.
because I was busy.
Yeah.
Could I have taken 20 minutes to just sit and have a chat to the people I was with? I 100% could.
Thinking about teams.
Yeah.
Thinking about how we look after people and deliver. So there's a lot of talk in our industry about it, and then not so much walk. Is that you're looking at staff food options and things like that, and it's always being minimised. I think you've talked about it in the past about. So I want to get onto Margot. I want to talk about Margot. You talk about providing great food for your team because it's a way to look after them and show them that you care, and then if you treat them like that, they'll learn and treat their guests like that. Tell me about how you did that in.
Yeah, look, I think, as you're coming up in the ranks, I work in so many restaurants where the food is bad. I work in so many amazing restaurants that the food is incredible. I mean, the food that we ate in Beverly Hills, not because it's Beverly Hills, you order from the menu and you ate it.
Yeah.
And if you have to pay for it and you have your bread and you sit down and you eat, man, and then most time when you close, you can order another meal and take it with you. And so I think the first thing you need to do is feed people well. I mean, I don't know about you, but if you eat a lasagna at 11:30 before you open the restaurant at 12 o'clock, man, I need a nap. Nobody can work in that environment. So to do that to people, I think is wrong. And also, opening Margot is we're trying to do everything that we saw that was wrong with the industry. And we wanted to make it better. So food was one of the things. We explained to people, look, we're not in a 5-star hotel. The changing room is small. You have your locker. It's not the really long one. It's the shorter version because you couldn't fit otherwise. But you explain the entire process before they're coming in. Make your decision. This is how much we pay. We're trying to stay competitive. So we walk through and we ask questions. Like I remember asking, what's in here? What's in your heart? And people will get emotional, go, nobody's ever asked me that question. Because I need to know what position I'm putting you in or what you're trying to do this. We never hire direct head waiters. We never hire direct managers. You have to go through a training process in order to show it to me. You can tell me you can swim until you go in the water. So show me. Now, okay, you can swim. Oh, you're that fast? Okay, we're going to raise your salary and now you can do this. But you got to come into our environment, the way we do things. Because you might tell me the way I do things might be wrong, but prove me otherwise. And in case you can prove me otherwise, and it shows that it works, wow, let's implement it. But for me, Margot was a dream, right?
Yeah.
It's I spent 6 years with Daniel Boulud, which was 6 incredible years of my life. One of the incredible restaurants in what we achieved there. And then there was nowhere for me to go. My wife was like, you're going to have to open your own restaurant. So
did you always want to do that?
It was always the dream.
Yeah.
The way I envision, I had in my head the way I want it.
Yeah.
I love Italian food. The reason I love French food, I love Indian food, I love Chinese food, I love everything. But the reason I love Italian food, I think Italian food is about the produce.
Yeah.
You put a burrata on the plate, and you put some olive oil, and you put some tomatoes, you have a meal.
Yeah, simple.
It's simple, and it's delicious pastas being made fresh. And so anyway, the process of Margot was incredible. From finding the location, we were involved with everything from the toilet paper to design and crazy. Even, Margot had the name, which is my mother-in-law, and then it had the dog, which is her nickname. And even the way we place everything.
Margot's her nickname.
So Margot is her name.
Dog.
No, Margot is her name. She's 5'2", and my father-in-law 6'4".
Yeah.
And in Dachshund, the dog, the sausage dog, the German word is Deckel, and that was her nickname from him to her. So that's why we named the restaurant. I thought it was appropriate. So it was the dream. So we found the location. Designing the place was really important. People feel psychologically the way they walk into an environment was really important for us. Every little detail from the materials that we use. There was 2 different designs. Downstairs was green and white. and gold. Upstairs was copper, dark blue and light blue. And I work with Tom Stroder from Fable Studio, which is a good friend. We trained the staff for 7 weeks. Usually the training is usually 3 to 4 weeks, but
Yeah.
because there were so many delays, we were very fortunate to train the staff for 7 weeks.
What sort of training do you do? Like 7 weeks?
So do everything. So we break up the management and we break up the positions. Then we break up the way we behave in the bar, the way we serve food in the bar. Then we do a lot of role plays. So we'll do a head waiter, we do 4 people walking into a scenario, 6 people walking into a scenario, 2 people walking into a scenario, and we do a whole service in front of everybody.
Wow.
But before that, we go over the entire menu. We do testing, we do the dessert menu, we go over the entire wine list, we go over the specific bottles, it's non-stop.
And a lot of cooking and a lot of tasting. And...
No, cooking and tasting is before that. Cooking and tasting was my business partner and I. In order we trial the chef, we made him make all this food. So we chased all the food until we decided he was the appropriate chef for us. Once we did that, then he designs the menu, and then that he goes in a different area. That area, it was literally just front of the house. So he does his own thing with his space team, and at some point they all come in together. So in the final week, so we go over the way we're gonna do the rota, the way we're gonna do holidays. We did all the employee handbook beforehand. Everything is really done beforehand, but those 7 weeks is literally training. Just training in your job, just acting like there's a restaurant open and we do everything. As you know, we don't have the food or everything, but we do the bottle, the serving, the whole training, and the equipment, and then we get all the equipment that we're gonna use. The uniforms coming in place. So it's literally the pre of creating a movie. You know, you're doing the sets, you're doing everything. So that is really incredible because you really are able to see what it's gonna look like, and then once you get the restaurant. You know, we got the restaurant week before, and then we start doing all the training with all the equipment, and then it's a lot easier. But then that week, then the staff is tasting all the food.
Mm-hmm.
So the food has been through the chefs. They know what to make it. Now the staff is tasting all the food every single day. You don't get in the floor until you taste everything.
Wow.
Because you cannot sell a product. Because someone asks you, tell me about this product. If you haven't tasted it, you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And you can't just like lie. You got to know what it is that you're serving. And you got also be honest. Look, I'm vegetarian. I never taste the steak. No, but I can explain the steak to you. We get the steak from Aubrey Allen. This is how the cows are treated. That's what we're gonna work with. So we spent a lot of time traveling. We went to all our suppliers. I took the entire management team suppliers to the tasting, doing that. So it's a really elaborate process. But once this process is done, to the opening, and then you're gonna, especially us, guys in the business coming in, and every critic wants to have a part of the scene.
There's the hot ticket in town, right? Amazing pressure. Everyone's going to come and review you. Everyone's going to come and eat there. Talk about it, and I think as Giles Corran said, it was a ready-made classic. Like it felt like it just
barely 6 months open.
Yeah,
ready-made classic.
Yeah. And he said not many people are doing proper restaurants like this anymore. And I guess that must have felt really good to kind of, I guess, get seen by a critic, kind of go, yeah, great, they get it. But equally, there would have been loads of people who would have said things that may be frustrating or don't get it or they don't like the decor or whatever, and everyone's got their opinion. But that pressure, how did you handle that at the time? Do you put yourself under a lot of pressure, or did you feel external pressure, or was it a brilliant process? Did you just love it?
Love that question. I think it's almost like the mountains of our lives, right? So we're going through processes in order to learn all those things for that final moment, right? So I think opening Bar Boulud with Daniel Boulud for the world's 50 best, you couldn't have any more pressure than 50 best chefs in the world sitting in the restaurant.
Yeah,
and that's a really good question because we are ready for that. A story that I don't often tell. My oldest brother died right before I opened Bar Boulud, and I made a decision not to go home, which Daniel Boulud and Michael Lawrence, our director of operations, wanted me to go home, but I didn't. Because I had a product to deliver and I had to do this. But Margot, going back, our first review, it was Faye Meshler, and she just went nuts on us about our salt and pepper. Jay Rayner picked up on everything she said and came on and just really point out all the amazing things we're doing with our food, our quality, and the way the uniforms were, the way we serve. Because what we did at Margot, is not only that, we spent a great amount of money on everything we did, but we were honest. We were kind. We really had empathy. We treat people with the utmost respect. And the minute you walk in that door, you felt it.
Yeah.
You knew that we were professionals in every part of your journey. We were professional the way we took your coat. We were professional the way we greeted you. We were professional the way we set you at the table. We were professional the way you came and sat in our bar. And everything we did what I used to tell my team is people take their time in order to come into an environment. Now they're spending money into your environment. So you got to treat them with the utmost respect. So getting that review, it was really difficult, but the support that we got from the industry, it was so much support that we got because we came from the industry, we're opening restaurants, it was beautiful. And was incredible and best chefs in the world. We got really supported, and then that review came. Then Giles Corn review came, and then people were like, "Wow, this is incredible." And even when the honeymoon was over, when we were really busy at dinner, we were not so busy at lunchtime, and we really worked the area in order to bring people in. Our product, our food, it was not the best in the world, but our food was great. Our service was impeccable, and we were the first one charging 15% service charge in our bill.
And people were paying.
Nobody ever questioned it because it was so good, you couldn't just complain about it. So for me is that journey of a director in a movie, right? Often I go to movies, I'm yelling at the screen, I'm crying, my boys are complaining. I don't care. That director is happy that I'm there because that was his intention. So for me, the journey of an operator is, how does a website look? A website had a model, in a dress, a guy in a tuxedo, a dog in a Vespa. And people go, what is this has to do with the restaurant? And for us, doesn't matter where you come from, we're going to treat you like a queen, like a king. And you're going to walk out of there and you're going to go, that was the best experience I ever had. And if you ask a question where the post office is, we know. If you ask where the Lion King, what time is it start in the Lyceum Theater, we know. If you ask any question to my team, they were trained. We had classes. We trained them on everything there is. They were tested. In order to get to the floor, they had to know, they had to have the knowledge. And for me, once you create that environment, your clients see it. They feel it, they sense it. And there's no better place they'd rather be than be with you, a place where there's value. And if you look at Jay Rayner's review, he's a place where he spent his own money to eat. Yeah. And for me, man, that made our day because we worked really hard to develop that product. And it's something that, look, it's not hard to do. You have to have a training. You have to have values. Culture, people need to understand what direction, where am I going with this company? How am I looked after? Once you're treating, human beings are very forgiving. Once you treat people with that amount of respect, man, they would do anything for you.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I don't have a huge amount of experience in kind of the higher end fine dining, and it's amazing hearing you talk. It actually is as simple as train people well and check what they're doing. And help them be better, but check, and you're right, managers often, we sort of forget to check.
You said everything there. It's let me show you how this is done. This is done. Can you do it? No? Okay, let me show you again. Now do it. You've done it? Perfect. Can you do that on your own? Perfect. And if you need help, my door is open. And I'm here to guide you.
But that's everything.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's all I want from you. And if we're not checking the alarm when the doors are closed, the place is going to be robbed. If we're not checking a man or a woman walks in a restaurant completely intoxicated, that they're falling off the chair, and your bartender gives them an extra shot of tequila, that's not going to help anybody. So the observation of everybody in the team going, you know what, I don't think I should serve that person. That's the communication that you want. That's what you want your team going, you know what, look, I just noticed that this couple are really young. They can't afford that dessert wine. Can I just give them 2 glasses of dessert wine because they really want it? Yes, do it.
Yeah,
you know, we should give Petit Fours to every single person that went to the theater in a little box, and we hand it to them and goes, "How'd you know we're going to the theater?" That was our job to know.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the stuff people remember.
and all of a
Take
sudden
that
you're
away.
sitting in that theater and you're older and you cannot get up because you just want to sit on that interval and you get that little sweet. It's this whole business, you know, it's about being thoughtful and about being kind. And if you want to multiply your customers, is those things that people will notice.
Yeah, and it's making them feel something.
Yeah.
And making them feel great.
It's like delivery, right? We have 3,000 deliveries that go through my house a day. You order something from Apple. Have you noticed the delivery company that they use? It's perfect, spot on. You can track it. You can boom. They go to your door.
Yeah.
Boom. They say good afternoon and hand you the product. And then is the awful delivery service that are bulldozing your door, kicking it down.
Throwing
You
it
can't
outside.
everything is bad.
Yeah.
So it's that simple. You know,
The difference is training and checking.
that's it.
And I guess caring about the whole process.
About the process. And for us, we looked at it the way you look at the website. What content? What's the story? If you look at our website, all our suppliers were there because we're proud to work with them.
Yeah.
If you're not proud to be where you are, something is wrong. We came here to be excited. We came here to wake up in the morning and go, God, all right, I'm ready for today. And if you're not in an environment that's doing that for you, you're in the wrong environment. Walk away from it.
Yeah. So were you super energized by that challenge? Because some people love a challenge, right? But some people, that pressure.
It's a lot.
Especially as an operator who, like, the details, you know, you can't turn it off. And I think I struggle to turn it off. But I think that you will see everything all the time. Like when we're in a place, you'll be seeing 10 things that I don't see, and I'm seeing 10 things that no one else.
Well, the last place we went, the table was the wrong height.
Yeah.
You're trying to create an environment, you know, for people to come in where they had a tough day or they had a good day or they're celebrating. The lights are important. The way the chair and the way you sit upright and it's comfortable and your arms are going like this is important. The lighting, the plate that comes in front of you, the equipment that comes in front of you, you know, touch and feel. So yeah, I'm a little crazy. Our bathrooms went nuts because our bathrooms are beautiful. The tile that I initially picked was so expensive. Tom was like, Paulo, we can't afford this. I'm like, okay, fine. So we got to do something else. You know, the storytelling, the mirrors, the artwork, everything for me is I go back to what my mother used to tell me. Okay. When you go out to the world, whether you have the best clothes or not, if it's simple, you make sure that's iron and it's dressed and your hair looks good and your teeth looks good and you smile. And if you shake someone's hand, you shake it, you know, perfectly. Everything that you do has a meaning, right? Yeah. So you're representing yourself. Like my boys, they represent us as parents. So for me, that journey is important. It was all the years that I work, and this place is going to represent everything that I've learned. And that place is going to have incredible food. It's going to feel incredible. And we're going to treat you well. And you're going to walk out of going there, was I seen, you know, for who I am as a human being, not because I ordered the most expensive bottle of wine. So for me, it's not about what you order. It's about we're going to look after you. Either you order 5 courses or 1 course or a glass of water. It didn't matter for us. For us, is providing that service that we're going to welcome everybody, no matter where you come from. And I think the world needs a little bit more of that.
Yeah. I was reading Keith McNally's autobiography.
Yeah, I heard great things. Yeah.
Yeah, a really interesting book because he's like interesting bloke, right? And there's loads of things in there about his life and him, which is really what the book's about. And he doesn't talk that much about the restaurants, which is kind of originally why I was interested in it, because I loved his places, New York, and he talks about almost like a sinking feeling, like as soon as you've done the project, it's not exactly as you want it to be, because you've had all these visions. Even if you've been able to put it together as you want, as soon as other people sort of walk in there, and then they see it from a different perspective, or something's just slightly off, you'll never get it quite perfect to how you've envisioned it. And I really have that in my own business. And I've had to sort of learn that it will be what it is, you know, and I want it to be something. And I want every service to feel a certain way. And you can curate it as far as possible. But if someone doesn't likes something or thinks, it should be blue instead of green. You can't stop that. And however frustrating it is for people to sort of criticize or just things not go right, like I've had to learn to let go of a little bit of that pressure. I think you.
But also guests are the other half of the equation. You can do all you can from an operator, but like how guests experience it, how they use it is also just as like not in your control.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if you saw us measuring tables and going over equipment, you will probably go, God, I hate those guys.
How many things do you think you made bespoke?
We pour olive oil from a silver teapot, but we had a lot of silver bespoke. I remember the feeling I got when I was young and I got into a Mercedes. And it was the most beautiful feeling in the world. And you realize why they were the best in the world. The way you sit down, the way the light, the panels, the seatbelt closes, and the music, the sound, the speed of the car. And so unconsciously, when we go to an environment and when we feel really good, is because we felt that presence before. It's almost going back to human beings. The feeling that we really want all our lives is the feeling when your mother held you for the first time. That's what we want. You want to be protected. You don't want to, you're being fed, everything. I'm old school where I believe a restaurant should do that for you. I want all your stress to go away. The minute you walk in that door and you see my face, good evening. Travis, how are you, baby? What's going on? How you doing? Where Margaret Thatcher came in and ate with us all the time, and the way you walk in, I'm not saying it was just me, but my team, is that feeling of you're coming somewhere. Right. And so all those things, it's for us operators, you go over and there's things that you get it completely right. But what is beautiful about what we do is that we're always getting better, right? We're always getting better. Okay, we got it. This logistic here doesn't work. This waiter station doesn't work. Let's move this here. And that's what I love about us, because the first 6 months, you're literally working on it and trying to get everything out. Within a year, you got things done properly. Our stairs were so scary to go down. People were slipping and going down. Then we decide, you know what? Every time someone walks down, you're going to walk down with them, or whatever it is that you need to do. But there's things that it's completely out of your control. For me, with Margot, I remember the owners of Fendi came in with the family, and they were touching and feeling everything and going, God, this is incredible. And then you notice that 90% of people don't notice those incredible glasses and those 150-pound plates that you order. They're like, oh my God, the breakage is going crazy and you're going nuts. And then, in the back of your mind, you have, my mother saying, oh, you should open a sandwich shop. Why'd you have to start at this size? Because you're trying to compete with everybody else. But, you're right. I just broke the sugar bowl in my house and I super glue and it looks amazing. And it goes back to that, I forgot the name, but the Japanese.
Yeah, it's like kintsugi or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well done. Yeah. And I love that. You just because you broke something, now you can put it together and you do with gold and it looks even better, right? So I think that's the phase of our lives where, Margot, a lot of the times I look back and it was my ego really trying to prove who I was as an individual. But at the same time, the perfectionist and the excellence, that's, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it beautiful and it's going to be perfect and it's got to look beautiful. Even the scents that we put in the bathroom, people are like, what is this bathroom? And people are taking pictures in our bathroom because we made it beautiful. But I think what we like is going back to things and making it better. Yeah. Right? And if this time I got it wrong, same thing with failure. I think we touch upon that, okay, so that's why I like the Stoics, and that's why I love Marcus Aurelius. I think when I was really young, what I missed it because I was so young, nobody was really near me. I missed having that mentor. And that's why I think today I try to be that person. But what I was really looking for in those books and those things that I was reading is to how can I better myself and be a better person every day, right? Because we are, as Gordon Ramsay says, as we are as good as our last service. But, same thing going back yesterday, it's over. Today, the present, is so much I can do about tomorrow. But if I only focus on the here now, this is all we got, right here, right now. There's nothing beyond this point. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think we're a society of tomorrow. We're a society of what's next
yesterday or
and what's the
tomorrow.
and what's this. But if we are, we need to focus on now. How am I going to do this now?
Talk about these exacting standards, and we've done a little bit of work together, and I think I can imagine that you are extremely rigorous and focused around maintaining standards and all of those things. But one of the things that I've experienced working with you and that you talk about is about, I think you're quite realistic about how to do it and how to get things done, but also having empathy and being quite kind to people. And I think you mentioned that was something that Margot taught you, or you pulled that from her, like that sort of pay it forward, be kind to people. I can imagine the environment and the perception of the industry is that, especially at the level you're talking about, that it's fast, everyone's shouting at each other, it's like high pressure. Maybe I was surprised to kind of find out, you do it with a lot of kindness, and if someone makes a mistake, I'm here to help you, and let's get it right, and not, you fucking idiot.
I think that was the old school, the old mentality. I've made a lot of my staff members cry. There's no question about that. But at the same time, if I look at those individuals today, they're doing extremely well.
Yeah.
It was never with intention of hurt their feelings or doing anything. It was maybe more of my passion and enthusiasm to things. But I think it's so important. We got to look back. I remember being in New York at a briefing for the first time. And I was looking at these people and I was like, oh, I want that watch. Wow, I want to speak like that one day. I want to be in charge of watching general managers work that floor and talking to the guests. And I see bartenders making drinks. We're going through so many journeys. And I think that if you create this environment, for me, is creating an environment of a family. We're spending so much time outside our house trying to provide that perfect service, and how these environments, we're doing 200-300 covers for lunch, 400-500 covers for dinner. It's a busy day. Some places have breakfast and it's non-stop. I think that moment to really have empathy and listen to the staff and what they're going through, and how can we support and how can we do this better. And when you're asking that question, listen, do you need more training? Is that something we can do this better? So we change this. And when you're really listening to them, and I think the problem is that a lot of us are busy all the time, and have we should have the managers will mentor all the head waiters will mentor the chef de rons and so forth.
Yeah.
Everybody should be mentoring somebody. If I remember head waiters crying, taking order from Alan Ducasse, and people, everything we promised them happened. But we're all one. Paulo came in through the door or whatever, they knew that there was going to be a little pressure at that moment. But at the same time, they went, you know what, we're going to deliver this for him and for us.
Yeah.
And we did as a team because we knew how much passion we put into the project. As football, you train that team and lift that trophy. As a team, you grow together, develop each other, you see each other, you become part of their families and their kids, and all of a sudden you're part of something. We all want to be part of something.
I'm sure lots of industries, people make friends at work and things, but I don't really think there's any other industry that I know of that is so social and has that connection. When you work in a business that everyone is putting together, because you work long hours, you're together a lot, and it's stressful, you go through these precious services, you kind of create these really close bonds. And I think that's something that's amazing about hospitality. Travis and I, we had a couple of years, we didn't really see each other much.
But we've probably known each other for 18 years?
Yeah, like 20 years, yeah. And we have a big group of friends from where we first started. And I think that it's something that as I got older and looking after my team now, they're just people who, they're going to be there forever. Those connections are there forever. I think hospitality does that incredibly well. Something that's really powerful, like for people's lives as well as just their careers and jobs, and So on that topic of looking after your team, as you were talking, you sound like you created a culture where, like, that high performing culture is what a lot of people are striving for, and you created something that you'd done the detail, so it looked amazing, it felt amazing. The branding was there to make people feel a certain way, set an expectation. You set the bar so high, and then every day the team have to deliver on that expectation. But the way to get high performance is by making your team relaxed, not create fear.
Yeah, definitely.
And we work for a big business, and I think they created structures that created fear. It's all about disciplinaries. If you don't do this, you're going to get disciplined. And as an ops manager or as a multi-site operator or GM, whatever, a lot of your job was just like going around, sort of ending up being the police, basically. Have you done this? Have you done that? And checking people and then disciplining, because we didn't have the time or space, or maybe that wasn't the culture to sit down and mentor and manage and train and empathize and listen and be kind, as well as have high standards. Where did you find that balance, or what worked for you in terms of creating those really high standards, but then also not having a fear culture?
God, it's a really good question. I love that. I think you having people from different environments. Some people were probably mistreated. Some people have this expectation, and some people want this and that. We were honest from the first interview. This is because we made a point interviewing everybody. But now when you came in as an outsider from this environment, and you saw that 80%, if not more, were so close to each other. You saw this is a fabric. In Brazil, when you get called for a team, they announce it on television. In all the stations. So I think what we created, because we had the privilege of training for 7 weeks, we were guys in the business that started from nothing and became someone. We worked the pavement, so we were respected in that sense within the hospitality. But then when you came in, you saw the effects of that, and then we were really structured about, okay, so if you're Chef Duran, okay, great, but you're not going to work here. You're going to start as a commie. We're going to show you. So now you train for 2 weeks with the Chef Duran, and if you pass that test, now you can be in the floor. And then when you can be in the floor, you prove yourself. We did that with head waiters. We did that with managers. If you're managers, you have to be trained for 3 weeks. So you literally shadow with everybody. So I'm getting to your question. So the structure of the team is already there. The culture is there. So when you came in that culture, the first, second, third day, you're looking at it going, God, this is crazy. How does guys do that? But then when you saw that, wow, I came into this position at a commie. I've been trained from a commie for 2 weeks. Yeah. I ate with this person every day. So when you see that the culture, the structure there, then it's easier for you to become in.
So sort of people are looking after each other.
So we're all looking after each other. The training is so well, and managers are checking on you. I remember we have new people and they'll be sitting by themselves. And then all this table is full of people. I said, hello, no, come here, come. Sit with everybody. Make everybody feel welcome. So I think we create this quote. We did birthdays and we remember things. We did briefings. We talked about everything. There's August 21st, we knew whose birthday it was, and we say happy birthday. We sing happy birthday. We acknowledge everything. So we create this culture. So I think coming in, it was for some people that knew where they were going to go. I want to work here for 2 years. I'm going to get these guys on my CV. I'm going to move to the hotel. I want to be a hotelier. We got really good people. People knew that if you really want to learn and if you want to develop, Margot was the place. So we create that culture, that going there. Yeah. And so people knew that our backgrounds was like that. That the way we behave was like that. You know what I mean? If you saw me in the floor, Margot, I'm wearing a 3-piece suit. I got my tie. I'm walking on that floor. I'm checking on every little thing. And so is everybody else. The managers, we all did the same thing. When you're part of that opening, you always lose a good 20%. But the people that stick with you, they'll stick with you and they'll go a long way with you. So I think to answer the question is that when you go to a company and you have a 2-day induction and meals are provided, the notepads and the pens and there are speakers there talking about their career and what they're doing, what their journey, you feel, okay, wow, first part, check. My training, check. The way I've been treated, check. Uniform, boom. Coming to work, boom. Made mistakes, boom, no problem. Yes, I raised my arm, I made a mistake, no problem, no cover. That was our goal. You make a mistake, put your hands up, then we can fix it. So when you see all that process in place, then you go, okay, I can work here, I can do this.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, the difference then. The stuff that you sort of call checking is really different to the sort of checking that, sort of you were just referencing around.
Yeah, I'm driving, I've got 15 sites as a multi-site manager. I've got an hour. I need to check a load of things off because otherwise then someone's going to check me.
You don't have the time to check and train and coach and, build a relationship.
There's not a lot of trust in that style of
No.
business. It's
You
low
don't have the
trust,
time.
high process. I don't like working in those environments because you spend all your time just reporting stuff to other people rather than actually being on the ground with people doing the thing that's important.
Now you just said everything.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just said everything right there. Those companies, they only care about the P&L, how much money, and then they're reactional, right? They have a
Yeah.
bad month, all of a sudden,
Panic, yeah.
good operators, the Denny Myers in the world, the Daniel Beludas of the world, they're not looking at that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna put our heads down. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have a strategy for this. We're going to focus on this. This needs to improve. We'll review in 3 months.
Yeah. I think you can get the temperature of a business when you walk in, and
You can feel it.
it's like, the team sat together talking, eating together on their breaks.
Are they engaging with each other? Are they talking to each other?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. You can feel it.
And
the customer can feel it now.
Absolutely. So I guess, what you're describing in Margot is that real connected team that are looking after each other, training each other, so probably pushing each other within this high standards sort of, it's pressure, but there's a strength there because we're all in it together. And if I fall, someone's got to pick me up.
This is exactly, you said it now. It's almost going to the Olympic swimming team and putting Mike Phelps in the water and say, this is the standard. Now, if everybody has the standard, the way you look, when I'm doing a briefing, I'm looking at your shoes. If you didn't shave, it's that simple. Excuse me, hi, after the briefing, you got to go to your boots, pick up a razor, you need to shave before you come in. Now, if you have a full beard, you need to trim. We had rules.
Yeah.
But you don't just come here and change our environment because you decide that's how you're going to show up. How you show up, you need to show up every day. This is how I show up. As a manager, I show up this way. I'm fair, I'm honest, I'm a little tough. How do I show up as a head waiter? How do I show up as a chef? Everybody how do you show up? And so yes, we did that. How many briefings that I went in knowing that perhaps a couple of people didn't have the knowledge, and I told one head waiter, the other head, get ready because I'm going to ask you questions. All right, tell me about this dish. Boom. Tell me about this. Boom. Tell me about that. You don't know? No problem. Pick up. Who's going to pick up? Pick up. Perfect. You need to learn about this. So tomorrow someone needs to work with him and he needs to learn that. Okay, we get to debone the fish today. Let's go see it. We should have classes on how to pour a wine, but how the quantity of the wine before that we have the measurements. So we're not pouring everybody's. It's like hotel rooms. In December they're 1,500 pounds. In January they're 850. If we did that in a restaurant, can you imagine your ribeye is 65. In January and 150 in December. Wow. Yeah. It's like airlines. It's a top up for everything, and the government is not putting pressure on them. But in hospitality they are. Everything we do, we have to have a reason for it. But anyway, so I think, yes, we made sure that knowledge was really important. The way you behave was important. The way you show up was important, and timing was important. I think we made all that important. And then when you're part of that environment that everybody does it, whether you are Messi or you're the youngest player in the team, then everybody kind of follows.
Yeah. You mentioned about the Brazil national team. It made me think about the Lions rugby team.
That's it.
The
That's
British
a
and
perfect
Irish
example.
Lions, because there are all these documentaries now made about it, and you see sort of in behind the scenes and stuff. And they're a really interesting case study because it's like the world's best players or half the rugby world's best players coming together. So all these super high performing professionals, but they make such a massive emphasis. The coaches make such a big deal about how they bring the team together and the social things and the cultural bit of it. And because that's the thing that makes the difference. So the players are going to be the players on the pitch. But the successful tours are the ones where they went for dinner together. They did a load of things together, and that's almost more important than get on the training pitch. And these guys know how to pass a rugby ball. They don't need to be shown that, but they do need to work together as a team and come together.
That I love that, and I watched that All or Nothing. I love that documentary.
Yeah,
they
great.
did.
Yeah.
It's the first time they did the Brazilian national team, and they allowed cameras on their training camp, and I love that. And that rugby is a perfect example. When those guys were doing the chanting that they're doing, it means something for them. So I think in my path, what I realized, and I realized this from my mother, is like, whatever you're doing, if you're a waiter, act like a waiter. If you're going to acting school, but you're a waiter, when you're a waiter, you act like a waiter, not an actor, right?
Yeah.
Do your job that you're meant to do. And I think there's no job that you should be ashamed of. Everything is getting you to the position to be where you want to do. And to do those things, especially in the restaurant world. I mean, my God, to get that money to put that building together, to get the P&L, to all the presentations, to actually have the dream and come up with the product and build it and do all that. It's so much work. And you have the responsibility. I think if we have the responsibility of, it hurts when you have to let someone go. It hurts when you have to make cuts. It hurts when you have to make decisions, but do with dignity, do with respect. They're not numbers. They're human beings. They're human beings that come and they wake up in the morning, and sometimes they're a pain in the ass human beings that you need to train them and teach them that this is not the way to go. I've made many mistakes. I do it every day, and I try to be the best version of myself that I can be.
Yeah.
I'm a father of 3 boys who are amazing. I didn't have a father. I didn't know how that role was meant to be. So I do the best I can. Yeah, we're all very critical of ourselves, and that's a perfect example. So if you come into hospitality, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but do the job that is the task that's ahead of you, and do it well. And then when you change professions, do that well too. I know we're not doing the most difficult job, but we all have to do it well.
Yeah, I think it is quite difficult. It's difficult to do it well.
If everybody can do it,
Yeah, and that is the beauty of the industry, is that you can train people, but it's also the tasks in themselves are simple. They're simple things, but putting it all together and conducting that symphony every day is really challenging. Right? And like the product is everything happening together, and there's not many businesses that you design and build a product that kind of every day you have to start again and rebuild it every day, and it's live and it's ethereal, and then it goes, and and it sounds simple when we're talking about it, but everyone is searching for that culture that you describe, that supportive, highly trained, confident. That's how you get the hospitality out the other end, make people feel amazing. Do you think? But not everyone is doing it, right? And increasingly not. So you go places and it's just not there. And what do you think is the key thing to get that right? Is it really like you need real structure behind all that, or do you think it's some special people?
For me, structure. For me, whatever we build, restaurants, it's usually 5-6 manager. You have a GM, assistant GM, restaurant manager, assistant restaurant manager, duty manager.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you have breakfast, you have a separate team. It all starts with the leadership from that. Who's in charge of doing what? And now we got to trickle down to our head waiters, our chef d'honneurs, our commis, our hostess, our maitre d'. For me, structure. You can be in a good military if there's no structure.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, you have the managers that are really nice. Some of them are going to be tough. It's about also learning how to deal with different individuals, because if you don't know people, you don't know business. Structure, environment is really important.
And I think you're probably right, because actually what you said at the start was that actually if you're hiring on the right behaviors and you're hiring on the right values and things that you see, rather than someone's been a head waiter before, you need the structure to bring it all together.
Yeah.
Like you've got the right people, they've got the right motivations, they've got the right values, they are all of the right characteristics.
And I guess it's the thing of, you mentioned Disney earlier, the way they design things is to feel like magic, but they're super structured behind it. So all of these amazing things you described earlier, like knowing when the show's playing, or little surprises that you do for people, that there's a whole structure behind it, but it feels amazing.
It's so important. I remember often how many operators and business owner who come to me and goes, Paulo, you send more people to us than anybody else. Why? And I go, because you're the best bar there is. So I'd rather them go to a nice bar that we're not open. I'll send it to you. And that's what it's all about. And what you just said about Disney now, it reminds me, Simon Sinek made this point. When you go to Disney and they have Pluto and Donald, they have all those, they have a rule that when they hug a kid, you got to wait for the kid to let you go before you let them go, right?
Yeah.
So I think those things are so important. I learned this, like single diner, how important it is to look single diner, make sure they have a newspaper, you make sure they welcome. At Bar Baloo, I remember ladies will sit in the bar and guys will try to pick them up, and I'll go straight to them and I say, excuse me, madam, are you okay?
Yeah.
Waiting for the nod, and she will say no or yes. And if she said no, I'll say, excuse me, sir, do you mind Lady doesn't want to be in trouble. She's having a meal.
Yeah.
And those are days, we opened Barbaloo 2010 to, 2016 I left, that, not a lot of ladies were dining by themselves. Now they all do. But, it's my environment was to make sure they're protected also. So we have so many little things that we do. And when we do it right, it's so important to people to make sure they're looked after, old ladies or wheelchairs or even, someone with a broken arm. Sir, would you like for me to have the chef cut the steak in the kitchen for you? Or we used to, you notice when they're left hands, and when the coffee dessert came, it automatically came with the spoon on the other side. We were that good.
And you need structure to deliver that.
You have to.
So it feels like each of those things is simple in themselves, right? But,
Pay attention.
But when you've got 100 things going on, it's really easy to miss that one simple thing. Don't do that, or don't go and tell the chef to cut the thing because it's, I don't know, well, that's just not what we do. I'm sorry. How many businesses do you go in where people say, I'm sorry, we just can't do that? Or someone you haven't given the staff the confidence and the trust to do it. I was in the pub a couple of days ago, and this guy turned up, and he was meeting his dad and his sister, who didn't know he was going to be there, and he was a bit reluctant. But he said, "Can I?" He's from overseas, and they don't know I'm here. Can I go behind the bar and pretend to be the bartender? And I think about some of the businesses that we've worked in before. Yeah. There would probably be lots of, I don't know, you might have to sign something. Yeah. And I was like, I love that, mate. Get behind here. And have you ever been behind a bar? He said, no. He said, oh, wow, this is amazing. So I showed him how to pour a pint, and he was absolutely awful. So he said, don't do that. I'll come and do that. And then his dad walked in, and he hadn't seen his dad for 3 years. And it was so funny, because for about 20 seconds, he didn't even notice it was his son.
No way.
And he was looking at the beers, and I was sat in the corner just laughing. And then he was like, oh my God. It was like this beautiful moment. And they sat and had lunch and stayed for some beers. And it was really nice talking to them. And they were so grateful. They were like, thank you so much for making that happen. I was like, oh, I didn't really do anything. I said, yes. I said, you just get behind there. Why wouldn't I? And I mean, I guess we get so fraught with the concept of like, I could have slipped over and hit himself and sued me.
Yeah.
You can get bogged down in all that stuff. And you miss it, but it's, I guess, giving people the confidence to know the difference between those moments. Don't say you'll cut everyone's steak up, because that's a disaster. That ruins the structure.
But it's just humans will make generally good decisions. Like if you give them the confidence and the trust,
the right humans, and give them that.
You don't have to manage to like the fact that 1 in 100 times someone might do something a bit.
And you have to allow room for that, because then. It's trust. You trust your team to make a decision, whether they have to might check. Just real quick, it takes 2 seconds to go check. Look, I really would like to do that. Go ahead and do it. It's so important, because then it's help your brother, help your sister out. So I think it's really important.
I guess we've talked a lot about that, like the power of hospitality, how it makes people feel. You have worked cross industry, so brought that into other businesses. How was that received? Like, how did that go? I
love it. I remember receiving a phone call from major companies to come in and do a keynote speech and talk about hospitality. My mentor, Danny Meyer, he's been preaching this for a long time. So I work close with Norton Motorcycles, for example, and they have the dealerships. How are you treated when someone walks in and asks you about a motorcycle? Can you answer all the questions? I work with close Hackett. Instead of asking questions about the weather, just, you say, introduce yourself. And once they're, introduce yourself, don't follow the person, walk away from it, and just be present for any questions that they have. If they start shopping, offer them a bottle of water. Offer a still or sparkling water. That's not going to cost much. And if you do that, the same thing, even a hair salon, would you like a glass of wine, right? Red, would you like a beer? Why not? You're shampooing their hair. Working with even Red Lobster in America, I work with the corporate team. I remember the CEO and everybody else thanking me, saying, Paulo, we forgot about all the stuff. And thanks for reminding us of all the stuff that we're meant to be doing. When you have 150 restaurants, and it's hard to trickle down to all what made you successful. But then you look at In-N-Out. or you look at Shake Shack, what Denny Meyer has done. It's an incredible product. So it can be done. So I think if you look at the Google culture, where everybody goes to an office and you can bring a dog, you can bring your kid, just because they're wealthy as hell, it's easier for them to do it, or Netflix does it, and a lot of these companies do it. So for me, it's gone really well. I think I'll do a keynote speech for the directors, the CEOs, or I'll do a training with all the staff. Doesn't matter what business, airlines. I've done it with retail and even jeans, 7 for Mankind in Milan. But I think it's that environment of, it can be a jean shop, for example, right? 7 for Mankind, incredible jeans. But the knowledge that you have about the jeans, the way you talk about the jeans, the way you're talking about the products. So if you work for Ralph Lauren, you need to know who Calvin Klein is. You need to know who Mucha Prada is. You need to know who Church's is. You need to know about the product. If you're going to sell shoes, you really need to know what the market is. So it's the same process that I do implement in the restaurants. If we're serving food, we need to know about the food, each item, all the ingredients. So I think it's been really well received, and I do them all the time. And I think you can bring hospitality to retail. You can bring to the art galleries that we're talking about. You can be airlines. Think about it. They're flight attendants that they need you to have the knowledge about how to open the emergency door, but at the same time, they're serving you breakfast and dinner and serving you wine.
But it is,
right?
It's every business.
So
like
this is what it drives me crazy about our government here. A couple coming from New York, they're staying at any hotel, 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. They're most likely going to have breakfasts, and they're most likely going to go to Covent Garden to go to the theater. They're most likely going to go to dinner, lunch. They're going to go. So everything that we do, whether you go to a show, a Lion King, when you get that cocktail, it's service. So I think that industries now I'm getting calls from well-being and all that. I'm getting more calls to do those talks, even more so now, that they really want, just look after yourself, look after your body. And this young generation, they're asking questions.
Yeah.
They're asking questions. I want to look after myself. I want to make sure that I get paid fair. But I want to be the environment that I'm in. And a lot of people don't even people are not drinking alcohol. They don't want to staff parties. They want to go somewhere and do something more fun. A lot of environments, all major companies are calling and asking that question because they want to bring hospitality to everything they do. You're the lobby at Netflix. How are you greeting those people? You're the restaurant at Netflix. How you're treating those clients that are coming in. Hospitality is something that should be driven in universities. You can bring hospitality to any business.
When you're talking about staff parties, you just reminds me of a really sad staff party that was fairly recently. Jen, it struck me really because I'm talking about building culture, and that's what every business is talking about building great culture, having a hospitality culture, and maybe it has moved on, as you say. It's not just about going out and
putting a card behind the bar.
Yeah, stick a card behind the bar and go wild. But actually, sometimes it is, and by putting the card behind the bar and saying have whatever you want, that's different to, right, we've got, a couple of bottles of wine and a few beers, and then there's a tab, and once that closes, people are paying for their own. I've been in those environments and where everyone's standing around not having a drink or not letting their hair down or not feeling looked after. So you've tried to do the thing, and then you've kind of just screwed it up at the last minute, because you don't want to spend another £200, £400, £500, whatever. And it's almost worse to half-arse it. And maybe it's not what they want anyway. So people don't then go. And then you're at this sad do where you're there's not many people there. It's the same old faces having some beers. And they would have just probably done it anyway together. And you think, is this what this culture is? And there's not a lot of questions being asked about, how do you do it differently? And
I'll tell you right now, we never gave alcohol when you finish your shift.
Yeah, right.
Because you give a waiter or anybody a drink or two, now he's going to the pub. Yeah. Now he's going out.
You're right.
Now he's going to show up late tomorrow morning because he had a shift. We never gave alcohol, right? Never. Wow. It was not allowed. We didn't do it. We gave you a bottle of champagne, a bottle of wine and panettone and a gift for the end of the year. But I don't believe in that. F parties, I mean, do it well. Do a big dinner. It's really important. These people work so hard. And once a year, shut down the place. And we did at Barbaloo. We were very fortunate to be able to do it. It does cost money, but wow, they deserve it.
But it's an investment in.
It's the culture.
Team, right?
It's the culture.
Yeah.
You feel protected. You work harder. You work more, you do more. It's one of those things. You feel good about what you do. You're not looking at the clock. You're not looking at the watch.
I remember when we both left a big business that, I don't know, we got really looked after on the grad program, but I'm not sure everyone did across the company. Big, huge, so it's hard to really have like one singular culture. And then I went to a smaller business, and the first week I think I was there, I think the second day it was a party for assistant managers, and I went along and was like, wow, these guys are going for it. This is amazing. What's going on here? And it was brilliant. Everyone was having a great time. And then about a week later, someone said, right, bring your passport. We're all meeting at King's Cross. It was like the senior team. And we got taken to Paris. Brunch at like one of the brasseries. I can't remember what it was, like Coupelet maybe. And it was like, champagne on the train. When we were out, we got really looked after. And I'd only been there. And it would have been very easy to say, you weren't part of the team that delivered the results. That's why we're going. But they said, absolutely not. Like, bring your passport. You're part of the team. Let's go. And then about a month later, they took us to New York.
No way.
I was like, this is amazing. I'm not even out of probation. This is the best thing ever. And I think lots of companies are doing like those big trips and things like that. But back in the day, that was quite unique. And I'll never forget the way that made me feel. To your point, I felt looked after. I felt like celebrating something. But also, it meant that when we came back from it, I was going to work twice as hard. I was going to knuckle down.
That's it.
And how well connected were you to those people now? And your
That's it.
teammates?
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think it really breeds.
That's everything. Once they're all connected towards what the goal is and what they're going in the direction. And in my environment, I feel safe. Then everybody is ready to go for that. It's like the rookie, right? You come into a baseball team, you come to the fighter, you're cooking, baby. You're the new chef now. You're going to be cooking, you're going to be doing the laundry, you're going to be doing all that. That's the beauty of it. You should be very fortunate that you're able to. So those American coaches, I learned a lot in America. You're the rookie. You got to pay your dues before you get to sit here and do what we do. And that's the process. And if everybody understands that, and I think honesty, Denny Meyer would say this often, you can be the best sommelier in the world, but if you don't have empathy, kindness, and you're not curious, and all that you think about is selling those wines for 400, 500 pounds, that's not the market. It's not going to happen. That's a very small percentage of people that's going to do that. Have someone that is able to go to a table and say, excuse me, sir, can you tell me how much would you like to spend this evening per wine? I'll go 50, no problem. I got the special wine, not traditional, different region, different country. May I pour a little bit for you? Now you're building trust. Second time, that conversation is going to go different. Next thing you see, he's coming in, whether it's business for lunch, he's not drinking, or is with his family, or breaking a deal, or a celebration. And then he doesn't care how much you spend, or she doesn't care how much they spend, or they don't care how much they spend. You don't do business with people because you hate them. You don't even care. I like hanging out with you. I'm doing business with you, baby. Let's go.
Absolutely.
When people understand that cycle, you put that jersey on and you kiss it and you go, I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
Because I get looked after.
It's something that you might just reminded me of, that little detail about so how you're making, whether they're spending 500 quid or 50 quid or £5, like making someone feel great. It's so important. When we were in the restaurant yesterday, Bouchon, and the waiter did something really smart. And it might have just been an off-the-cuff comment, but I really liked the way he said it. And we've talked to this a lot about how you say things. Phraseology is really important.
The way you speak.
Yeah. So we was looking at the wine list, and it was lunch. So he said, "Oh, you drinking wine, guys?" My business partner was having monkfish. I was having rabbit. Various different bits and bobs. We wanted a bottle of red. So I said, maybe we go for a light red. And he said, "Where are you looking on the list?" And I sort of pointed one out. And I thought it was a really nice way of figuring out what my budget was.
Exactly.
I pointed one out that was mid list, and he pointed one that was a bit cheaper. And I said, "This is actually delicious. Got a bit more structure to it. This will go really well with this." So all of a sudden I think, okay, well, he's not trying to sell me a bottle that's £5 more. He's selling me a bottle that's less, but he's giving me a good reason, and he knew the detail. And like just a little phraseology of where are you looking? It immediately put me at ease, because he's not going to just recommend me a huge, expensive bottle of wine.
That happened to me at La Petite Maison, and it was so well done. And I loved it. I think phraseology for me, I mean, we have classes of how to greet somebody. You know, you can't just be going, hello, guys. There's environments that is not acceptable, the way you speak to people. So I think that's a really, really important thing. And I think phraseology, you know, you can control. A lot of people don't understand with your voice and with your tone. But also, it happened at Lip. I come in with Heidi and Luke, who was, you know, in the Prem at that time, going into a very famous restaurant in Paris. And I should tip everybody. And then, you know, if you don't order anything above 150 for the wine, the sommelier changes. Then it's a commie waiter that comes to you to open the wine. And you're like, something they just shift. Or you walk into an empty, you know, going through a lobby of a five-star hotel, you walk into a restaurant that's completely empty, and they put you on the worst table.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, no. So it's those things that happens to people all the time, and you have to question it, and you know, in trusting people, it's really important, especially now. Look at London, where we are. You know, so many choices. You know, not your food has got to be really good, but your service has got to be really good, and the way you do everything. Look at it with Amazon now. You know, retail sector. You know, I often walk in Regent Street, and how many places are empty. My wife always wanted to support the local community, but you know, you can't go wrong with the order Amazon. You get the next day with Prime, and it's the same product. If you want to return, it's super simple. So we have to be a lot more creative these days in any sector, because there's a lot of big companies, you know, coming in.
Where do you think is doing it well? Where's the last place you had a great experience?
I went to Legado, Nieves Barragon. She owns Sabor, and then she just opened this restaurant. The general manager there happens to be a close friend, Juan Ramirez. You know, 37 items on the menu and exquisite food.
Yeah.
Service was a month from opening. It was really spot on. I mean, very attentive and kind, and everybody was really polite. And that's what you want when you go to a restaurant. I really like what she's doing. There's a lot of wrong going around right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of restaurants, poor service and poor hospitality, and pricing is ridiculous. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It really is. And we obviously need support from our government. Prices are just ridiculous. And I understand from operators, you know, trying to balance everything out and provide a good service is not easy right now. But, you know, my recommendation, if you really focus on the service is where the show is, right? So everybody's watching Cirque du Soleil for 2 hours. So Cirque du Soleil needs to be incredible. The training needs to be done. Those guys jumping and doing all that stuff, it needs to be spot on. If you have an accidents every day, you're not going to survive. So it's that simple. It's really that simple.
And that just takes like focus and time and investment and the right people. It sounds so simple, but there is still such a strong resistance, I think, to investing heavily in training. And
so I guess like when you say training, they're like, isn't training just like the person on the floor reminding the person on the floor, the other person on the floor, that like, that's not how it is.
Yeah.
It's just accountability. It's just conversation. It's not fancy lectures, and it's on shift every day.
Yeah. And
high standards.
I think that's what I'm talking about, is that when you salami slice budgets continually,
That's it.
The space and time for a little bit of mentorship or a little, you know, it's gone. So gyms are running around like crazy.
Sort of death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, it is. And you get to this point where, so it's like the laptop on the floor thing, and it kills me because no one's designing pubs, restaurants, whatever, with offices. You know, you can use that space and get more covers in, or, you know, it's like whatever, it's the IT cupboard now. And because you just have a laptop and you sit there. But then what you've got is a GM on the floor with a laptop.
No.
And they're sort of
awful.
Yeah, awful.
All the laptops at a restaurant.
In that place when we met last time, you know, we actually spoke to that guy after you left, and like he was just there with his office in the corner of the restaurant.
So he's the GM in there, and there were things that were going on in that space that potentially he could have been on. You know,
made better.
Yeah, made better. Or how valuable. And look, we don't know what he was doing. He might be doing something very important, or he might not even be working. He might be on at the end of a double.
You know, working for operator that didn't even think about creating a little office for him.
He was lovely. It was great, by the way. But you've got the GM there, and you've got 4 staff who could have had a real training moment with all of that, and like, you know, that's a snapshot, but it feels like that's happening all the time. We've lost the art of doing that. And I think that's management, right? That's at all levels of management. And we blame the
Team.
rookies and the team and the kids.
And it's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
You know, it all starts with the GM. You know, and also there's a lot of operators and a lot of investors that come from the financial world. They're making decisions in the boardroom that it shouldn't be made there.
Yeah.
They're making cuts and doing things that they're not proper restaurateurs, so they don't understand the business.
Yeah.
That's what the problem is too.
Yeah. The reason why I love this industry is there's so many characters and mavericks and, people who are willing to pour their heart and soul into a restaurant
I know.
to serve other people or bar or whatever, to create an environment where other people can have fun and enjoy. And it's a sort of quite a selfless thing, but it's also really creative. That, as we talked about, like having that ability to put something out in the world that people can enjoy.
That's it.
Not everyone has got that.
Denny Meyer, if you're sitting here, you would say this: the world doesn't need another restaurant.
Yeah.
The world doesn't need another hotel.
Yeah.
But what the world needs, it's good human beings doing things for the right reasons. That's what it's all about.
Fantastic. That feels like a really good place to wrap it up.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Like,
thank you
it's
so
been
much for
amazing.
having me. This is great.
Amazing conversation. And we could go all day, and we didn't even talk about Scots, the Wolseley.
We'll do a second or a third episode.
Yeah.
Depends how long this runs.
It sounds like we need more time.
Yeah, but
Thank
brilliant.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and looking forward to listening to it.
Fantastic.